You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. What if I told you that rejection isn't proof that you're not good enough, but proof that you're being shaped into someone stronger than you've ever been? Think about it. Every no you've faced, every unanswered message, every closed door, it stings. It lingers. It whispers doubts you didn't even know you had. And if you're honest, sometimes it makes you question your worth. But the Stoics saw rejection differently. To them, it wasn't a verdict. It was training. It wasn't humiliation. It was refinement. In this video, you're going to discover 9 Stoic ways to deal with rejection without crumbling, without chasing validation, and without losing your center. These aren't fluffy affirmations. These are battle-tested principles practiced by thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, men who endured exile, betrayal, and public failure, and came back unshaken. If you've ever felt dismissed, overlooked, or underestimated, this is for you. Stay with me until the very end because the final principle might completely change the way you see rejection. And once you see it differently, you'll never experience it the same way again. Number 1, separate your self-worth from the outcome. Rejection only stings as deeply as it does because you've quietly tied your identity to the outcome. You may not even realize you're doing it. You tell yourself you just wanted the opportunity, the approval, the yes. But beneath that is a subtle bargain. If this works out, it proves I'm worthy. If it doesn't, it means I'm not enough. That's the trap. And the Stoics would tell you gently but firmly that you've handed your self-worth to something you never controlled in the first place. You've outsourced your value. It's time to take it back. You are not the result. You are not the verdict. You are not the applause or the silence that follows. You are the character you bring into the arena, that's it. Epictetus was blunt about this in the Enchiridion. Some things are up to us and some are not. The outcome, not up to you. The effort, the preparation, the courage to show up, entirely yours. So why are you grading yourself on what was never in your hands? Pause and really sit with that. If you measure your worth by outcomes, you'll always be at the mercy of forces you can't see, can't predict, and can't command. Start drawing a hard line between who you are and what happened. The rejection is an event. It's external. It belongs to the world of circumstances, opinions, timing, other people's choices. Your worth belongs to your inner world, your discipline, your integrity, your resilience. Those are not the same category of things. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." That doesn't mean pretending rejection doesn't exist. It means refusing to let it redefine you. You can feel disappointment without absorbing it into your identity. Here's a practice you can start using immediately. When rejection hits, instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "What was within my control?" Write it down, be precise. Did you prepare? Did you act with honesty? Did you give focused effort? If the answer is yes, then your character remains intact. That's the metric. Train yourself to evaluate your conduct, not the consequence. Over time, this shift rewires how you experience setbacks. You begin to see them as feedback about circumstances, not as judgments about your soul. You need to stop treating outcomes as mirrors. They are not reflections of your value. They are reflections of complexity. Timing, competition, other people's standards, hidden variables you'll never fully understand. When you collapse your identity into results, you flatten yourself. You reduce a living, evolving human being into a single moment's verdict. That's not rational. And Stoicism at its core is about rational clarity. Step back. Breathe. Ask yourself, is it logical to equate my entire worth with one external decision? Of course not, so don't. This doesn't mean you become indifferent or apathetic, quite the opposite. You care deeply, but you care correctly. You care about your virtues, about becoming braver, calmer, sharper. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Notice how much of the pain of rejection comes from the story you spin afterward. The mental replay, the exaggerated conclusions. You tell yourself it proves something permanent. It doesn't. It proves one thing only: this particular door didn't open, that's it. Don't build a philosophy of inadequacy on top of a single closed door. Here, another exercise. Separate the sentence "I was rejected" from "I am unworthy." Write both down, look at them. One is a fact about an event, the other is an interpretation. Your work is to challenge the interpretation every single time. Ask, where is the evidence? You'll find there isn't any. There is only emotion masquerading as truth, and emotions, as powerful as they are not always accurate narrators. You have to practice internal validation, quietly, consistently. At the end of each day, ask yourself 3 questions. Did I act with courage? Did I stay aligned with my values? Did I improve even slightly? If you can answer yes to any of these, then you are growing. And growth is a better measure of worth than approval ever will be. Approval fluctuates, character compounds. Rejection becomes devastating when your identity is fragile, so strengthen it from within. Define yourself by effort, by discipline, by the willingness to try again. Tell yourself this: my value is intrinsic. It does not rise and fall with outcomes. Repeat it until it stops feeling like a slogan and starts feeling like a fact. The Stoics believed that virtue is the only true good, not success, not praise, not acceptance. Virtue, so anchor yourself there. If you act with integrity and courage, you've already succeeded in the way that matters most. You will feel the sting. Of course you will, you're human, but don't let the sting turn into a scar on your identity. Let it pass through you without settling in. Observe it, name it. This is disappointment. Not this is proof I'm inadequate. There's a difference. One is an emotion, the other is a belief. Guard your beliefs carefully. They shape your future more than any single outcome ever could. Every time you refuse to equate rejection with unworthiness, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You stop being controlled by external judgments. You become steadier, harder to shake, more dangerous in the best possible sense. Because when your self-worth isn't tied to outcomes, you take bigger risks. You try again faster. You recover sooner. You operate from strength rather than fear. So draw the line firmly. Your worth is yours. It lives in your choices, your effort, your character. Outcomes belong to the world. Let the world do what it will. You focus on becoming the kind of person who shows up fully, learns relentlessly, and stands back up without questioning your value. That's the Stoic way. And when you truly internalize it, rejection loses its power to define you. It becomes just another event, one you walk through, not one that walks over you. Number 2, control your response, not their decision. Rejection stings. It hits fast and it hits deep. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race, and your ego scrambles to protect itself. But here's the quiet truth Stoicism asks you to face. You were never in control of their decision. You were only ever in control of your response. And that distinction changes everything. The moment you truly accept that someone else's choice belongs to them, not to you, you reclaim your footing. You stop wrestling with something that was never yours to carry. As Epictetus said in the Enchiridion, some things are up to us and some things are not. Say that slowly. Let it settle. Their approval, not up to you. Their preferences, not up to you. Their judgment, not up to you. But your posture, your breath, your next move, entirely yours. When you're rejected, your mind wants to argue with reality. It wants to rewind time, edit your words, replay the moment in slow motion. Stop. That impulse is natural, but it's unhelpful. Stoicism doesn't ask you to suppress emotion. It asks you to master your interpretation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. That doesn't mean pretend it doesn't hurt. It means recognize that the deeper wound often comes from the story you attach to the event. You tell yourself you weren't enough. You tell yourself you've fallen behind. You tell yourself this outcome defines you. And none of that is factual, it's narrative, and narratives can be rewritten. So here's your first exercise: pause the story. When rejection hits, don't respond immediately, externally or internally. Breathe in slowly for 4 seconds, hold it, release it for 6. Do this 5 times. Let your nervous system settle. Then say, either aloud or in your mind, this is outside my control. My response is not. Repeat it until it feels steady. This isn't denial, It's discipline. You are interrupting the cascade of reactive emotion before it turns into something corrosive. You must train yourself to separate outcome from identity. Rejection is an event, not a verdict. It is feedback, not fate. The Stoics were relentless about this distinction because they understood how easily the mind collapses one into the other. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Notice how much of your pain comes from projection. You imagine future failures. You imagine permanent damage. You imagine judgment spreading everywhere. None of that has happened. You are reacting to ghosts. Pull yourself back. Anchor in what is real. A decision was made. It was not yours. Now you get to choose how you stand, and standing well matters, because your response becomes your character in action. Anyone can remain calm when things go their way. The test comes when they don't. This is your training ground. This is the moment you practice dignity. Instead of chasing validation, you cultivate composure. Instead of defending your ego, you strengthen your discipline. That shift is powerful. It intimidates chaos. It commands respect, even if silently. Here's another practice: conduct a Stoic review. After the initial emotion subsides, ask yourself 3 questions. First, did I act with integrity? Second, did I give my best effort? Third, what can I improve next time? Keep your answers honest and brief. If you acted with integrity and gave your effort, then the outcome was never yours to dictate. And if there's room to improve, good. Improvement is within your control. Obsessing over their choice is not. You must also guard against resentment. Resentment feels like strength at first. It feels like defiance. But it's just attachment in disguise. It means you're still trying to control something that's already gone. Let it go deliberately. Picture yourself unclenching your fist. That decision, that moment, that outcome, it's not yours anymore. Release it. The more you practice this, the lighter you become. You stop dragging yesterday into today. And here's something uncomfortable but necessary. Rejection doesn't reduce your worth. It reveals misalignment, that's all. Stoicism teaches that your value lies in your virtue, not in applause, not in selection, not in praise. Your courage, your patience, your perseverance, these are internal assets. They cannot be denied by someone else's decision. If you anchor your identity in external approval, you will always be vulnerable. If you anchor it in character, you become steady. So build that anchor. Each time you feel rejected, treat it as a signal to strengthen self-command. Journal your reaction. Write down exactly what you felt without filtering it. Then rewrite the same event from a neutral perspective, stripping away judgmental language. Watch how the emotional charge softens when the narrative changes. This is cognitive training. It sharpens your ability to interpret events wisely instead of impulsively. Remember this: control is not dominance over others. It is governance over yourself. The Stoics didn't preach indifference, they practiced sovereignty. They understood that life will close doors, people will say no, paths will shift. And none of that has the power to unmake you unless you hand it that power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Rejection is not the end of motion, it's friction. And friction builds strength. Don't shrink after rejection. Expand your discipline. Use it as a reminder that you are here to refine yourself, not to manipulate outcomes. You don't need universal approval to move forward. You need clarity. You need resilience. You need patience. Those are cultivated internally. They are chosen daily. So the next time you feel that familiar sting, don't rush to fix it. Don't scramble to win back approval. Stand still. Breathe. Say to yourself, "This is not mine to control." Then ask, "How will I respond?" And make that response deliberate, calm, measured, strong. Each time you do this, you reinforce a new habit. You become less reactive, more intentional, less desperate, more grounded. Control your response, not their decision. It sounds simple, but it is radical in practice. It requires humility. It requires restraint. It requires faith in your own path. But once you adopt this mindset, rejection loses its power to derail you. It becomes information. It becomes training. It becomes part of your growth. You are not defined by who chooses you. You are defined by how you choose to carry yourself when they don't. Keep that close. Practice it daily. And watch how stronger you become, not because rejection disappears, but because your response transforms. Number 3, reframe rejection as redirection. Reframe rejection as redirection. Say that slowly. Let it settle. You're not being pushed away, you're being steered, not denied, rerouted. That sting you feel, it's not proof that you're unworthy, it's proof that you cared, and caring is not weakness. The Stoics never promised you a painless life. They promised you a powerful one. There's a difference. When something doesn't go your way, your first instinct might be to internalize it, to turn it into a verdict about your value. Don't. Catch that impulse in the act. Interrupt it. Remind yourself of what Epictetus said. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Rejection is the event. Suffering is the story you attach to it. Change the story and you change the meaning. You have to train yourself to pause in that crucial moment after the no. That pause is everything. That's where your power lives. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "Where is this pointing me?" That shift is subtle but seismic. It moves you from victim to navigator, from passive to intentional. You stop seeing rejection as a closed door and start seeing it as a turn in the road. And yes, it may not be the turn you wanted, but who said the path to your growth would be straight? Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. Don't just admire that line. Use it. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. The obstacle is not blocking you, it is shaping you. Right now, you might still feel the ache. That's okay. Stoicism is not emotional suppression. It's emotional discipline. You acknowledge the feeling without kneeling to it. You let it pass through you without building a home inside you. Rejection feels personal, but it isn't always about you. It's about timing, alignment, circumstance, preference, factors outside your control. And here's the liberating truth. What's outside your control is not your burden to carry. You control your effort, your character, your response, that's it. Everything else is noise. So instead of obsessing over the outcome, turn your attention back to the only domain that belongs to you, your mind. Start a new habit today. When rejection hits, write down 3 possible ways it could be redirecting you towards something better aligned with your values. Don't roll your eyes. Do it. Force your brain to search for possibility instead of doom. Your mind will resist at first because it's wired to detect threats, not opportunities. But you are not a slave to your wiring. You are its trainer. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort to strengthen resilience. You can practice voluntary reframing to strengthen perspective. The more you do it, the faster you'll recover. There's also a deeper layer here. Sometimes rejection exposes attachment. You wanted something so badly that you tied your identity to it. When it slipped away, it felt like you slipped away too. But you are not your outcomes. You are your choices. Seneca warned against hanging your happiness on fragile externals. He understood that anything dependent on other people's approval is unstable. So use rejection as a diagnostic tool. Ask yourself, was I chasing validation or was I living my values? That question will cut through illusion. And once you see clearly, you can recalibrate. This is where strength quietly builds, not in applause, not in acceptance, in the private decision to rise again without bitterness, in the refusal to let someone else's decision define your direction. Redirection often leads you closer to who you're meant to become because it strips away what doesn't fit. You think you're losing something, but sometimes you're being refined, shaped, sharpened. And sharpening requires friction. Don't resent the grindstone. Try this exercise. Visualize your life as a long corridor with many doors. Each rejection is simply one door that doesn't open. Instead of pounding on it until your knuckles bleed, imagine yourself calmly walking forward. There are more doors ahead. Some will open easily. Others will require effort, but none of them determine your worth. They only reveal where you belong and where you don't. Sit with that image. Return to it whenever you feel stuck. Movement is power. Forward is freedom. You also need to watch your language. The words you use shape the reality you inhabit. Stop saying, "I failed." Say, "I was redirected." Stop saying, "They didn't want me." Say, "That path wasn't aligned." This isn't delusion. It's deliberate framing. And framing determines emotional impact. The Stoics were masters of internal dialogue. They guarded their thoughts the way a soldier guards a gate. You must do the same. When a harsh interpretation tries to enter your mind, challenge it. Ask for evidence. Demand reason. Most of the time, you'll discover the story is exaggerated, dramatized, unnecessary. There's something quietly empowering about realizing that rejection filters out what isn't meant for you. It saves you from commitments that would drain you. It steers you away from environments that wouldn't nourish you. You don't always see that immediately. Sometimes clarity comes later, but trust the process anyway. As Marcus reminded himself, accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny. That doesn't mean passive surrender, it means active acceptance. You accept the event, then you act wisely within it. Build a ritual around this. When rejection happens, take a slow breath. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Let your nervous system settle. Then ask yourself, what can I learn? What can I improve? What can I release? Write the answers down. Learning sharpens you. Improvement strengthens you. Release lightens you. Do this every time. Make it automatic. Over time, you'll notice something surprising. Rejection won't intimidate you anymore. It will inform you. And here's the paradox. You become more confident when you stop fearing rejection. Why? Because you understand it cannot break you. It can only redirect you. When you truly grasp that, you move differently. You take bold action without clinging to outcomes. You invest effort without desperation. You remain steady whether you hear yes or no. That steadiness is magnetic, it's grounded, it's stoic. So the next time life closes a door, don't collapse in front of it. Don't beg. Don't curse your reflection in its surface. Turn, walk forward, tell yourself, this is not the end, this is guidance. And mean it. Train your mind to see detours as design. Because often what feels like a setback is simply a better path revealing itself. One that requires you to be stronger, wiser, and less attached. You are not being rejected by life. You are being redirected by it. And if you respond with clarity instead of chaos, discipline instead of despair, you won't just recover. You'll rise leaner, sharper, more aligned than before. Keep moving. Keep refining. Keep choosing your response. That is where your true power lies. Number 4, practice voluntary discomfort to build resilience. Rejection stings because it disrupts your comfort. It unsettles your expectations. It pokes at your pride. And if you're honest, it's not just the no that hurts. It's the loss of control, the sudden drop from certainty into vulnerability. That's exactly why practicing voluntary discomfort is so powerful. You train yourself to walk into discomfort on purpose. You stop waiting for life to throw you into the cold. You step into it willingly. And when you do that, rejection loses its shock value. It stops feeling catastrophic. It becomes familiar terrain. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca advised, set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, and ask yourself, is this what I feared? That question is everything. Is this what I feared? You build resilience not by avoiding pain, but by meeting it before it meets you. You rehearse hardship. You flirt with inconvenience. You choose difficulty in small, controlled ways so that when life delivers a heavier blow, your nervous system doesn't panic. You've already been there. Voluntary discomfort is not about punishing yourself. It's about strengthening your inner spine. Think of it as resistance training for your character. When you deliberately do something challenging, something that stretches your tolerance, you send a message to yourself, I can handle this. I am not fragile, I don't crumble under pressure. That message accumulates, it layers over time. And eventually, when rejection shows up, it doesn't shatter you, it merely tests you. Start small. You don't need grand gestures. In fact, subtle challenges are often more powerful because they're sustainable. Take cold showers. Not to prove toughness to anyone else, but to practice steady breathing when your body screams for comfort. Skip a convenience you normally rely on. Fast occasionally. Wake up earlier than you'd like. Sit with boredom instead of numbing it. The point isn't the activity, it's the discipline of choosing discomfort consciously. Each time you resist the urge to retreat into ease, you're building psychological calluses. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." That's not harshness, it's clarity. Most rejection is endurable. Painful, yes. Fatal, no. But because you've grown accustomed to constant comfort, even mild emotional discomfort can feel overwhelming. Voluntary discomfort recalibrates your threshold. You discover that you can endure more than you thought. You widen your range. And once your tolerance expands, rejection shrinks in comparison. Here's a simple exercise. For the next 7 days, choose one discomfort daily and commit fully. It must be intentional. It must stretch you slightly beyond your preferences. When the urge to quit appears, and it will, pause, don't react. Observe the discomfort. Notice the sensations, the tension, the internal negotiation. Then breathe slowly and continue. You are not trying to eliminate discomfort. You are trying to coexist with it. That's the shift. That's the training. Another practice, negative visualization. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. Spend a few quiet minutes imagining rejection clearly, not dramatically, calmly. Picture the words, feel the initial tightening in your chest, then imagine yourself responding with composure. Visualize your steady posture, your measured breath, your neutral expression. See yourself walking away grounded. You are rehearsing resilience. You are teaching your mind that rejection is survivable. When it actually happens, your brain recognizes the pattern. You've practiced this. There's something liberating about choosing discomfort. It flips the script. Instead of feeling like a victim when rejection happens, you feel like a participant in growth. Epictetus said, "Difficulties are things that show what men are." That includes you. Difficulty reveals you to yourself. It exposes the parts that still crave approval, that still fear judgment. But instead of resenting that exposure, lean into it. Let discomfort reveal where you need strengthening. Then work there. When you practice voluntary discomfort, you detach from the illusion that comfort equals safety. Comfort is pleasant, yes, but it is not a guarantee of stability. Rejection will interrupt comfort eventually. It always does. By practicing discomfort regularly, you make peace with that truth. You stop bargaining with reality. You stop demanding that life feel good all the time. And paradoxically, that acceptance makes you calmer. You become harder to destabilize. Push yourself physically in measured ways. Challenge your mental habits. Speak up when you'd rather stay silent. Stay silent when you'd rather defend yourself. Sit with an uncomfortable emotion for 5 full minutes without distracting yourself. Set a timer. Let the emotion rise and fall on its own. You'll notice something surprising. Emotions crest and dissolve if you don't fuel them. That realization alone will transform how you experience rejection. Resilience is not loud, it's quiet. It's the steady decision to continue. It's the refusal to dramatize pain. When you practice discomfort voluntarily, you strip rejection of its theatrical power. You see it as one event among many, not a verdict, not a definition, just a moment, and moments pass. You also begin to separate your worth from outcomes. When you willingly embrace hardship, you're affirming that your identity isn't dependent on constant success. You become process-oriented, growth-focused. Rooted in effort rather than applause, that shift is everything. Rejection hurts most when your ego is overinvested in external validation. Voluntary discomfort tempers the ego. It reminds you that you can thrive without praise. Make this a ritual. Once a week, deliberately do something that challenges your comfort zone. Reflect afterward. Ask yourself, what did I feel? What story did my mind tell? Was it accurate? Write it down. Journaling sharpens awareness. It turns vague anxiety into concrete observation, and observation weakens fear. Remember what Seneca also said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Voluntary discomfort exposes that truth. The anticipation is usually worse than the experience. When you repeatedly walk through chosen discomfort, your imagination loses its dramatic edge. You stop inflating rejection into catastrophe. You see it clearly, proportionally. And here's the deeper reward: confidence. Not loud, showy confidence, quiet assurance, the kind that comes from tested endurance. When you know you can withstand discomfort, you stop avoiding opportunities out of fear of rejection. You take more chances. You risk more boldly. Because even if the answer is no, you've already trained your nervous system to remain steady. This is how you come back stronger. Not by denying pain, not by pretending rejection doesn't affect you, but by strengthening your capacity to hold discomfort without breaking. Each voluntary challenge is a vote for your future resilience. Each small act of discipline is proof that you are not governed by convenience. So start today. Don't wait for the next rejection to motivate you. Choose your discomfort now. Lean into it deliberately. Stay with it fully. Breathe through it calmly. Let it refine you. Because when rejection eventually arrives, and it will, you won't meet it as someone fragile and startled. You'll meet it as someone practiced, someone prepared. Someone who has already walked into the cold and learned how to stand there, steady and unshaken. Number 5, use negative visualization to reduce emotional shock. Rejection stings most when it surprises you. It hits like a door slammed in the dark. You weren't braced for it. You weren't ready. And because you weren't ready, it feels personal, catastrophic, final. This is exactly why the Stoics practiced what's often called negative visualization, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulties. It sounds gloomy at first, almost pessimistic, but it's not about expecting the worst with dread. It's about rehearsing reality so it doesn't own you when it arrives. You train your mind to meet disappointment before it meets you. And when it does, you're steady. Seneca wrote, "He robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand." Let that sink in. When you imagine rejection ahead of time, not obsessively, not fearfully, but calmly, you dilute its shock. You strip it of drama. You stop treating it like an unforeseen disaster and start seeing it as one of many possible outcomes. This shift changes everything. You are no longer blindsided. You are prepared. And preparation builds quiet confidence. You need to understand something crucial. Your fear of rejection is often worse than rejection itself. The mind amplifies uncertainty. It fills in gaps with exaggeration. So instead of waiting for reality to teach you resilience, you teach yourself first. Close your eyes and deliberately picture the outcome you don't want. See it clearly. Hear the words. Feel the initial tightening in your chest. Don't run from it, stay with it. Breathe slowly. Let the wave pass while you're still in control. This is training. This is mental conditioning. You are building emotional muscle. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, begin each day by telling yourself, "Today I shall meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty." He wasn't being cynical, he was fortifying his spirit. When difficulty appeared, he wasn't shocked. He had already made space for it. You can do the same with rejection. Before you step into any uncertain situation, say to yourself, "This may not go my way. I may be turned down, and that's okay." Not as a defeatist whisper, but as a grounded truth. Outcomes are never fully yours. Effort is. When you practice negative visualization, you reduce emotional shock because you remove the illusion of control. You stop assuming that the world owes you acceptance. You stop building castles out of imagined guarantees. Instead, you say, "I will act well. I will give my best. The rest is not mine." And suddenly, rejection loses its teeth. It becomes data. It becomes feedback. It becomes a moment, not a verdict. Here's a simple exercise you can start today. Each morning, spend 5 minutes visualizing a specific rejection. Picture it unfolding calmly. Notice your initial emotional response. Then deliberately soften your body, relax your jaw, slow your breathing. Tell yourself, even this is survivable. Repeat that phrase until it feels steady in your chest. You are not trying to numb yourself. You are teaching your nervous system that discomfort is not danger, that you can remain composed even when things don't go your way. Another practice: write down the worst-case interpretation your mind creates about rejection. Then challenge it. Ask yourself, is this permanent? Is this universal? Is this truly catastrophic? Most of the time, you'll see that your mind is dramatizing. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." Rejection is an event. Your interpretation is what determines your suffering. So adjust the interpretation, consciously, repeatedly. You also need to rehearse resilience. When you imagine rejection, don't stop at the moment of disappointment. Visualize your recovery. See yourself responding with dignity. Picture yourself saying internally, "This is part of the path." Imagine taking the next step forward anyway. This is critical. If you only imagine the fall and not the rise, you train fear. But if you visualize both, you train strength. You show your mind that setbacks are chapters, not endings. There's power in choosing discomfort voluntarily. When you expose yourself mentally to loss, you build gratitude for what you have and courage for what you might lose. The Stoics often reflected on impermanence, not to become cold, but to become appreciative and brave. When you accept that acceptance is never guaranteed, you stop clinging to it. You stop begging for validation. You begin to operate from self-respect instead of desperation. Make this a habit. Before any meaningful pursuit, pause, ask yourself, if this doesn't work out, who will I choose to be? Anchor your identity in your character, not the outcome. That way, rejection cannot redefine you. It cannot shrink you. It can only test you, and tests reveal strength. You might worry that imagining rejection will make you hesitant. It won't, if you do it correctly. Negative visualization is not about dwelling in failure. It's about normalizing it. When something is normalized, it's less intimidating. Think of it like stepping into cold water slowly rather than being thrown in. The temperature doesn't change. Your reaction does. Try this at the end of each day. Reflect on one minor disappointment. Revisit it calmly. Ask, what did I learn? Did it destroy me? You already know the answer. It didn't. Over time, this reflection compounds. Your mind begins to trust your resilience. You build evidence that you can endure. And endurance breeds confidence. Remember what Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Rejection is labor for your spirit. It stretches you. It forces growth, but growth feels less violent when you anticipate resistance. So anticipate it, welcome it even. Say to yourself, if rejection comes, I will use it. That mindset transforms fear into fuel. You are not trying to eliminate emotion. You are trying to regulate it. There's a difference. Emotional shock comes from surprise and attachment. Reduce both. Expect challenges. Loosen your grip on outcomes. Focus on virtue, courage, patience, composure. These are always within your control, so start now. Don't wait for the next rejection to practice resilience. Sit quietly tonight and imagine it. Breathe through it, reframe it. Visualize your calm response. Do it again tomorrow, and the next day. Build the habit before you need it. When rejection eventually arrives, and it will, you'll notice something different. The ground won't collapse beneath you. Your heart won't race as wildly. You'll feel the sting, yes, but beneath it there will be steadiness. A quiet voice saying, I prepared for this. And that preparation is power. You don't become unshaken by avoiding pain. You become unshaken by rehearsing it, by walking toward it mentally, by reminding yourself that your worth is not on trial. The Stoics understood this deeply. Now it's your turn to practice it. Strength is built in advance. Build yours deliberately. Number 6, extract the lesson and discard the bitterness. Rejection stings. Don't pretend it doesn't. The Stoics never asked you to be made of stone. They asked you to be made of discipline. There's a difference. When something doesn't go your way, when a door closes or a voice says no, your first instinct might be to tighten up, to replay it, to build a quiet courtroom in your head where you prosecute everyone involved. But that's not strength. That's attachment. And if you're serious about becoming stronger, you have to learn to separate the lesson from the bitterness. One is useful. The other is poison. As Epictetus said in the Enchiridion, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So pause, breathe. This moment is not here to shrink you, it's here to train you. You have to decide consciously that every rejection contains information, not an insult, not a verdict on your worth. Information. That shift alone changes everything. When you view rejection as data, you move from wounded to curious. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I learn?" That question is power. It pulls you out of emotion and into examination. And examination is the birthplace of growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Read that again. The obstacle is not in your path, it is your path, so don't waste it, don't let it dissolve into resentment. Bitterness feels justified in the moment. It feels like armor. You tell yourself you have a right to it, but bitterness is heavy and you are the one carrying it. It clouds your thinking. It distorts your perception. It keeps you emotionally tied to the very thing you claim to have moved past. And the Stoic path demands clarity. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Bitterness is imagination on repeat. It's replaying the moment again and again, adding sharper edges each time. You don't need that. What you need is precision. Here, what you do instead. Sit with the rejection quietly, not dramatically, not theatrically, just calmly. Write down what happened in plain, neutral language. No adjectives, no loaded commentary, just facts. Then ask yourself 3 questions. What was within my control? What was not? What can I improve next time? Be ruthless with honesty, but gentle with judgment. This is not about self-attack, it's about self-refinement. If something was outside your control, release it deliberately. Say it out loud if you need to. That was never mine to command. And if something was within your control, take ownership without shame. Ownership is empowering. It means you can adjust. You must train yourself to crave correction more than comfort. That's a Stoic muscle. Most people want validation. You want improvement. That's different. Rejection becomes valuable when you extract the correction hidden inside it. Maybe it reveals a skill gap. Maybe it exposes impatience. Maybe it shows you that you were attached to an outcome instead of focused on excellence. Good. Now you know. Now you can act. Epictetus reminded his students that every event is an opportunity to practice virtue. This is yours. Practice resilience. Practice humility. Practice detachment, and then discard the bitterness on purpose. Don't wait for it to fade, actively release it. One simple exercise: imagine bitterness as a physical object you're holding in your hands. Feel its weight. Notice how tightly you're gripping it. Now visualize setting it down. Walk away from it in your mind. This isn't fantasy, it's mental discipline. Your brain responds to rehearsal. Teach it to let go. Another practice: each time the memory resurfaces, replace the emotional story with the lesson you extracted, not the narrative of unfairness, the principle you gained. Over time, your mind will associate the event with growth instead of grievance. You also need to remind yourself of what rejection is not. It is not a final statement about your value. It is not a cosmic punishment. It is not proof that you are incapable. The Stoics were relentless about this distinction. They separated externals from character. Your reputation, your success, the opinions of others, these are externals. Your effort, your integrity, your discipline, these are yours. So when rejection hits, measure yourself by what you controlled. Did you act with courage? Did you prepare thoroughly? Did you respond with dignity? If the answer is yes, then you have already succeeded in the only way that matters. Here's another habit to adopt. Shorten the emotional timeline. Don't give yourself weeks to stew. Give yourself a defined window to feel it fully. Sit with the discomfort, acknowledge it. Then set a clear boundary. After this, I move forward. That boundary trains your nervous system. It tells you that pain is temporary, but progress is permanent. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that emotions are impressions, not commands. You don't have to obey them. You can observe them. Then choose differently. Rejection can refine you if you let it. It can strip away illusion. It can expose ego. It can sharpen preparation, but only if you stay sober in your thinking. Ask yourself, what standard do I want to rise to now? What weakness just revealed itself? What habit must I strengthen? Turn the experience into a blueprint. Write a small, specific improvement plan, not a dramatic overhaul. One focused adjustment. One disciplined action repeated daily. That's how you come back stronger, not through revenge, not through proving others wrong, but through quiet mastery. And remember this, bitterness makes you reactive. Wisdom makes you strategic. If you stay bitter, you'll chase redemption emotionally. If you extract the lesson, you'll pursue improvement deliberately. That difference is everything. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." You just encountered friction. Good. Now polish. You are not here to be fragile. You are here to be forged. But forging requires heat and hammering. Rejection is heat. Reflection is the hammer. Use it. Don't flinch from it. Don't dramatize it. Study it. Then move. Right now, make a decision. The next time rejection arrives, and it will, your first response will not be self-pity. It will be inquiry. Your second response will not be resentment. It will be adjustment. And your final response will not be withdrawal. It will be renewed effort, cleaner and stronger than before. That is Stoic resilience. That is self-command. Extract the lesson. Discard the bitterness. Keep the wisdom. Drop the weight. And walk forward lighter, sharper, and far more dangerous in your discipline than you were yesterday. Number 7. Strengthen discipline instead of seeking validation. Rejection has a way of poking at your ego. It whispers that you're not enough, that you should have tried harder, been smoother, smarter, more impressive. And if you're not careful, you start chasing something dangerous, validation. You start wanting applause, reassurance, a nod of approval to soothe the bruise. But this is where your Stoic training begins. This is where you pivot. Instead of scrambling for affirmation, you strengthen discipline. You turn inward. You tighten your standards. You remind yourself of what Epictetus said. If you seek to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let that settle in. Improvement doesn't require applause. It requires commitment. And commitment is forged in private. When you get rejected, your instinct may be to prove yourself. Resist that urge. You don't need to prove, you need to build. Discipline is quieter than validation, but it is infinitely more powerful. Validation depends on other people's moods, biases, and limitations. Discipline depends on you, that's it. And when you realize that, something shifts. You stop asking, "Do they approve of me?" And you start asking, "Did I honor my standards?" That question will change your life, because standards are internal. They're yours. They don't wobble when someone says no. Think about what Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations. Look within. Within is the fountain of good. Not in praise, not in acceptance. Within. So when rejection stings, don't rush to cover the discomfort. Sit with it. Feel it without dramatizing it. Then ask yourself, where can I become stronger, not more liked? Stronger. There's a difference. One makes you dependent. The other makes you formidable. Start building small, deliberate habits immediately after rejection. This is crucial. Don't wait until you feel better. Discipline isn't emotional, it's structural. Choose one area of your life and tighten it. Wake up at the same time every day. Train your body with consistency. Read 10 pages of something challenging. Write daily reflections, not to impress anyone, not to post, just for you. These acts rebuild your self-trust, and self-trust is the antidote to rejection. You see, when you seek validation, you hand your emotional thermostat to other people. They decide if you're warm or cold. That's unstable, that's exhausting. But discipline stabilizes you. It says, regardless of what happens, I will show up. And that quiet promise builds an inner architecture that rejection can't easily shake. Seneca reminded us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Rejection becomes unbearable when you imagine it defines you. Discipline brings you back to reality. It says, this is feedback, not fate. Here's a practice you can start today. After any form of rejection, write down 3 things fully within your control, not outcomes, effort, focus, preparation, response. Then rate yourself honestly. Did you give your best effort? Were you composed? Did you prepare thoroughly? If the answer is no, good. That's data. Improve it. If the answer is yes, even better. You honored your standard, that's enough. The Stoics cared deeply about virtue, not applause. You should too. Another exercise, voluntary discomfort. Once a week, do something mildly uncomfortable on purpose. Cold shower, digital detox, skip a convenience. Why? Because it trains you not to crumble when things don't go your way. Rejection is uncomfortable, so practice discomfort. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from mastering your desires, not indulging them. When you can withstand small discomforts willingly, you build resilience. And resilience makes rejection smaller. You must also guard your self-talk. After rejection, your mind may spiral into self-criticism. Catch it. Replace "I wasn't good enough" with "I am in progress." Replace "they didn't want me" with "that path wasn't aligned." This isn't delusion, it's discipline of thought. Marcus Aurelius practiced this relentlessly. He corrected his own thinking daily. You should too. Your thoughts are habits. Train them, and let's be honest, seeking validation feels good in the short term. A compliment can soothe you instantly, but it weakens you long term if you rely on it. It makes you perform instead of grow. Discipline, on the other hand, often feels boring, repetitive, invisible. No one claps when you stick to your routine. No one cheers when you refine your craft quietly. But that's the point. You're building something internal, and internal strength doesn't need an audience. Ask yourself this: who are you when no one is watching? That's the measure. Rejection strips away the spotlight. Good. Now you get to see what's real. Do you collapse or do you recommit? You don't need dramatic reinvention. You need steady refinement. Improve 1% daily, not for praise, for principle. Try this journaling prompt tonight. If validation did not exist, how would I act? Write freely. You'll discover a purer version of your ambition, one not tangled in approval. Then commit to one action aligned with that version. Take it tomorrow, quietly. There's also power in physical discipline. The body trains the mind. When you keep promises to yourself physically through exercise, posture, breath control, you reinforce psychological stability. After rejection, move your body deliberately. Stand tall. Breathe slowly. Look forward. These aren't cosmetic adjustments. They signal to your nervous system that you are still in control. Stoicism is embodied philosophy. Practice it physically. Remember, rejection is often redirection, but don't romanticize it. Don't turn it into a motivational slogan. Instead, turn it into fuel for structure. Tighten your schedule, clarify your priorities, cut distractions. The more disciplined your life becomes, the less emotional turbulence you feel. Chaos feeds insecurity. Structure breeds confidence. And here's something crucial: discipline builds identity. Validation builds dependency. Which one do you want? When your identity is rooted in daily effort, rejection becomes a moment, not a verdict. It's a chapter, not the story. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." So treat rejection as mental labor. Don't complain about the weight, lift it. If you find yourself craving reassurance, pause. Don't text for comfort. Don't post for sympathy. Sit in the silence. Let the urge pass. This is a powerful exercise. Urges peak and fade. If you can observe them without acting, you gain mastery. That's Stoic strength. That's composure under pressure. Create a personal code. 3 to 5 principles you live by regardless of outcome. Write them, memorize them, review them daily. When rejection hits, measure yourself against the code, not against public opinion. If you upheld your code, stand firm. If you didn't, refine it. This is how you come back stronger, not louder, stronger. And finally, remember this: discipline compounds. Validation fades. Years from now, you won't remember every rejection, but you will live with the habits you built in response to them. So choose wisely. Use rejection as a sharpening stone, not a mirror of worth. Each no is an invitation to fortify your inner world. Stand up, adjust your posture, take a slow breath. Decide that your standards matter more than approval. Decide that your growth matters more than praise. Decide that your effort is enough. Then act accordingly, quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to notice. That's how you stop chasing validation. That's how you strengthen discipline. And that's how you transform rejection from a wound into a weapon. Number 8, respond with calm dignity and silence. Rejection stings. It lands fast, sharp, and personal. Your chest tightens, your thoughts scramble. A dozen defensive words rush to your tongue, all of them begging to be released. But this is the moment that defines you, not the rejection itself, not the outcome, the response. This is where your power lives. And if you want to come back stronger, truly stronger, you must learn to respond with calm dignity and silence. You don't need to prove anything in that moment. Read that again. You don't need to explain, justify, argue, persuade, defend, or dramatize. The Stoics understood this deeply. As Epictetus wrote in the Enchiridion, remember, it is not things themselves that disturb us but our judgments about them. Rejection is an event, a neutral one. It becomes humiliation, failure, or catastrophe only when you label it that way. So your first act of dignity is internal. You pause. You separate the event from your interpretation. You breathe, slow, deliberate, controlled. Calm dignity is not weakness. It is contained strength. It is the discipline of holding your posture when your ego wants to thrash. When you respond with silence, you communicate something powerful without speaking a word. You are not destabilized. You are not dependent. You are not desperate. Silence in this context is not passive. It is chosen. It is intentional. It is sovereign. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself constantly, choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. That's not denial, that's mastery. When rejection arrives, you can either collapse into reaction or stand upright inside yourself. Choose upright. Choose stillness. Feel the wave of emotion rise, but don't let it carry you away. Let it pass through. You are not obligated to perform pain for anyone. This is where dignity lives, in restraint. The urge to over-explain is often a disguised plea for validation. The urge to argue is usually wounded pride. The urge to retaliate is insecurity dressed up as strength. You don't need any of it. When you meet rejection with composed silence, you reclaim the frame. You stay centered. You refuse to turn the moment into a spectacle. But this doesn't mean you suppress emotion. Stoicism is not emotional numbness. It is emotional discipline. There's a difference. You feel what you feel, but you don't broadcast it impulsively. You process it privately. You reflect before you respond. Seneca wrote, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." That applies here. Delay your reaction. Let time absorb the initial sting. You'll notice something surprising. The intensity fades faster than you expect when you stop feeding it. Here's a practice you can adopt immediately. When you face rejection, commit to a rule. No reactive words for at least 24 hours. None. No long messages, no dramatic speeches, no subtle digs, just quiet composure. If you must speak, keep it brief and gracious. Fewer words, slower pace, steady tone, then step back. That pause protects your dignity. It also protects your future self from regret. Another exercise, rehearse rejection in your mind before it happens. This is the Stoic practice of negative visualization. Picture the no. Hear it clearly. See yourself receiving it calmly. Imagine your face relaxed, your voice steady, your response measured. By practicing this mentally, you reduce the shock when it occurs. You train your nervous system to stay grounded. You prepare your character before the test arrives. And here's something deeper to consider. Rejection often bruises your identity, not your reality. It touches the story you tell yourself about who you are. That's why silence is powerful. It creates space between your core self and the external verdict. One person's refusal does not define your worth. It reflects their preference, their judgment, their circumstance. You remain intact. You remain capable. You remain in control of your next move. Calm dignity also sends a message to yourself. It reinforces self-trust. When you don't spiral, when you don't lash out, when you don't beg for reconsideration, you prove something internally. You can withstand discomfort without losing composure. That builds resilience, real resilience, not motivational slogans, not forced positivity, solid earned stability. Try this physical practice. When rejection hits, focus on your posture, shoulders back, chin level, breath slow and deep into your diaphragm. Your body influences your mind more than you think. A collapsed posture feeds a defeated mindset. An upright stance reinforces inner steadiness. Train your body to signal calm and your thoughts will begin to follow. There's also discipline in what you choose not to say afterward. Resist the temptation to narrate your rejection to everyone. Protect your energy. Not everything requires public processing. Some experiences are better metabolized in solitude. Journal instead. Write down what happened, then list what is within your control. Your effort, your growth, your preparation, your next action, everything else. Release it. Epictetus warned, if anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, he was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone. That kind of composure disarms conflict. It dissolves drama. It reflects inner abundance. When you respond with calm dignity, you signal that your self-worth is not up for negotiation. Silence is not about pretending you don't care. It's about caring more about your character than your pride. It's about valuing your long-term strength over short-term emotional release. The world will test you again and again. Opportunities will close, doors will shut, opinions will differ. Let others be reactive. You choose steadiness. And understand this, silence creates mystery. It commands respect. When you don't scramble to fill the air with defense, people notice. When you remain poised, you elevate yourself above the noise. You don't chase closure from others, you create it within. So the next time rejection finds you, remember who you are becoming. A person governed by reason, not impulse. A person guided by principles, not pride. A person who understands that setbacks are information, not condemnation. Breathe, stand tall, speak less, observe more, then quietly get back to work. Because here's the truth. The strongest comeback doesn't begin with a speech. It begins with composure. It begins with silence. It begins with you deciding that no external decision has the authority to diminish your inner authority. Guard that authority fiercely. Practice this daily, in small irritations, in minor disagreements. Train your calm in low-stakes moments so it's available when it matters. Strength is built gradually. So is dignity. Respond with calm dignity and silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you have nothing to prove. Number 9, turn rejection into fuel for consistent self-improvement. Rejection can either shrink you or sharpen you. The choice is quieter than you think. It doesn't happen in the moment you hear no. It happens in the hours and days that follow when your pride aches and your mind starts spinning stories. This is where you decide whether rejection becomes a wound you keep touching or a weight you use to build strength. The Stoics would urge you to see it clearly, not dramatically, not personally, clearly. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Read that again. Let it settle. The very thing that blocks you is not an obstacle to improvement. It is the raw material for it. You don't need to pretend rejection feels good. It doesn't. But you do need to stop treating it as a verdict on your worth. Epictetus, in the Enchiridion, reminds you that some things are within your control and some are not. Whether someone chooses you, approves of you, validates you, that's not yours to command. But how you respond, that is completely yours, and that's where your power lives. Instead of replaying the rejection like a broken record, ask yourself a harder question. What can I refine? Not why wasn't I enough? But where can I get sharper? Shift the lens. Move from ego to effort. You build this habit deliberately. The next time rejection hits, pause, don't react, don't vent, don't rush to prove anything. Sit with it. Feel the sting without adding commentary. Then take out a notebook and write 3 columns. In the first, list what was outside your control, be honest. In the second, list what was within your control, your preparation, your discipline, your consistency. In the third, write one specific skill or trait you can improve over the next 30 days. Keep it concrete, measurable, actionable. This isn't about self-criticism. It's about self-construction. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort to strengthen their resilience. You can practice voluntary refinement. Set a standard for yourself that doesn't depend on applause. Decide that whether you are accepted or rejected, you will improve something every single day, even slightly, especially slightly. Seneca wrote in his letters, while we are postponing, life speeds by. Don't postpone your growth because someone else didn't recognize it yet. Get to work anyway. Wake up and train your mind. Read a few pages of something demanding. Reflect, practice, repeat. Small efforts compound, quietly, relentlessly. Rejection exposes your weak spots. That's a gift, even if it arrives wrapped in discomfort. If you're brave enough to look at it without flinching, it will show you exactly where you need discipline. And discipline, not motivation, is what transforms you. Motivation rises and falls. Discipline stays. So create rituals. Daily, boring, powerful rituals. Schedule time for skill building. Track your progress. Remove distractions that dilute your focus. If you fall short one day, don't spiral, reset. The Stoic doesn't indulge in self-pity. The Stoic recalibrates. There's another shift you must make. Stop chasing redemption. Stop telling yourself you'll improve just to prove someone wrong. That's still external. That still gives them power over your direction. Improve because excellence is your responsibility. Improve because your character deserves it. Improve because you refuse to stagnate. When you detach your growth from the opinions of others, something changes. You become steady. You're no longer reacting, you're building. Try this exercise each night. Conduct a brief Stoic audit. Seneca practiced this. Before bed, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What will I do differently tomorrow? Keep it short. Keep it honest. No drama, no excuses. This nightly reflection turns rejection into data. Data into adjustments. Adjustments into progress. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. You're less afraid of being rejected because you know you'll extract value from it either way. You also need to train your interpretation. Rejection is neutral until you label it. Right now, you might label it as humiliation or failure. But what if you labeled it as feedback, or resistance training for your ego, or a redirection towards something better aligned? Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that events are not harmful in themselves. It is our judgment about them that disturbs us. So challenge your judgment, question your narrative. Replace "this proves I'm not good enough" with "this reveals where I can grow." Speak to yourself with firmness, not cruelty. Consistency is your revenge against stagnation, not flashy improvement, not overnight transformation. Consistent, almost stubborn refinement. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to document it publicly. Just commit to it. Imagine who you could become if every rejection triggered 30 days of focused self-improvement. Imagine the compound effect after a year. That's not fantasy, that's math, but it requires patience. And patience is a Stoic virtue. There will be days when you feel tired of trying. Good. That's when character is forged. Anyone can improve when they feel inspired. Few improve when they feel overlooked. That's your edge. Remind yourself of Epictetus' words. Difficulties show what men are. Let difficulty show who you are. Let it reveal your steadiness. Instead of shrinking, expand your effort. Instead of doubting, train. Instead of complaining, refine. Another practical step, limit emotional rumination to a set window. Give yourself 15 minutes to feel disappointed. Set a timer if you have to. When it ends, stand up. Change rooms. Begin a task that moves you forward. Action dissolves stagnation. Movement clears mental fog. You don't ignore emotion, you contain it. You respect it, but you don't let it run your life. Over time, rejection will lose its sharpness. Not because it stops happening, but because you've built a system that metabolizes it. You process it quickly. You extract the lesson. You return to training. That's strength. Not numbness, not indifference, strength. And here's the deeper truth. When you commit to constant self-improvement, rejection becomes less personal because your identity shifts. You're no longer someone who needs approval to feel valuable. You're someone committed to growth. That's stable, that's internal, that can't be taken from you. So the next time you hear no, don't argue with it. Don't collapse under it, nod, accept it. Then quietly begin upgrading yourself. Sharpen your skills, refine your habits, strengthen your mind. Tighten your discipline. Let rejection light a fire that burns steadily, not wildly. Controlled, focused, productive. You are not defined by who rejects you. You are defined by how relentlessly you refine yourself afterward. Take the sting. Transform it into structure. Take the setback. Convert it into strategy. Keep moving, keep building, keep becoming. The obstacle is not blocking your path. It is carving it. Rejection isn't the end of your story, it's the sharpening stone. The Stoics knew this. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." So when you're turned away, overlooked, or told no, don't shrink. Stand still. Breathe. Choose your response. Let it refine you, not define you. Every setback is training. Every bruise is instruction. You are not defeated. You are being prepared. Take these 9 Stoic ways, practice them daily, and return stronger, steadier, and unshaken. Now rise. The comeback begins with you.